of the Budget and Finance Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, November the 6th. I do detect a quorum with council members Porterfield, Allen, Evans, Siegel, Gamble, Huffman, Spain, and Webb here. We do not have anyone that signed up for public comment, so we will go right into the agenda. I am proposing that the following items are on the consent agenda: RS 2024-776, 808, 810, 811, 812, 813, 815, 817, 818, 819, 820, 821, 822, 823, 824, 825, 826, 827, 828, 829, 830, 831, 832, 833, 834, 835, 836, 837, 838, 845, 846, and BL 2024-585. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull RS 2024 811, 812, 822, and 831.
11, 12, 22, and 31?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, those 4 items have been pulled from the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone else would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go forward. We have the following items on consent: RS 2024-776, Porterfield, Evans, Allen, Bow, and Gad accepts a grant from the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council to the Metropolitan Board of Health to use a multi-component approach to remediate the effects of opioid use in Nashville, Davidson County by implementing a sustainable strategic plan to decrease overdose incidents among the population. RS 2024-808, Porterfield, Welsh, Allen accepts an adult treatment court program grant from the U.S. Department of Justice to Metro government by and through the General Sessions Court to expand and enhance the operation of the current adult recovery court model. RS 2024-18, Porterfield accepts the terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement for human capital management system and managed business solutions for the Department of Finance. RS 2024-813, Porterfield Gamble authorizes the Metropolitan Mayor to submit the Nashville Davidson Substantial Amendment 1 to the Home Investment Partnerships American Rescue Plan Home App Allocation Plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD. RS 2024-815, Evans, Porterfield, Gamble, Allen authorized the Metropolitan Department of Housing Authority to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multi-family housing project located at 345 Burning Tree Drive, known as Burning Tree. RS 2024-817, Porterfield, Gamble, Welsh, and Allen authorizes a grant not exceeding $7,551,528.78 in American Rescue Act funds from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to I Am Next Incorporated for the express purpose of constructing affordable and workforce housing. RS 2024-819, we're going to take 818 off consent because there's an amendment to that one. RS 2024-819, Porterfield, Gamble, Welsh, and Allen approves the 6th amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2017-965 between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. RS 2024-820, Porterfield Hill approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Electric Power Board of the Metropolitan Government of the National Davidson County, NES, and the United States Marshal's Office, USMS, for access to the 800-MHZ radio communication system for emergency radio services. RS 2024-821, Porterfield approves Amendment 1 to a contract between the Metropolitan Government and RJ Young LLC to remove and replace Exhibit A to the contract. RS 2024-823, Porterfield accepts the terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement for auction services for surplus asset sales for government agencies for the Department of General Services. RS 2024-824, Porterfield, Evans, Welsh, and Allen appropriates a total of $355,200 for the Metropolitan Board of Health to Neighborhood Health Incorporated, and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Board of Health and Neighborhood Health Incorporated to provide homeless individuals with medical, dental, mental health, and substance abuse services at 2 or more clinics in or near downtown Nashville. RS 2024-825, Porterfield, Evans, Walsh, Allen, Soror, appropriates a total of $355,000 from the Metro Office of Homeless Services to the Contributor Incorporated and approving a grant agreement between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Office of Homeless Services and the Contributor Incorporated to provide critical time intervention services to ensure that individuals are connected to supportive services that will address barriers to maintaining, housing, and achieving self-sufficiency. RS 2024-826, Porterfield, Gad, Walsh, Allen, and others approves a grant application from Tennessee Department of Disability and agents to the National Public Library for the purchase and installation of a powered adult-sized changing table in a single occupancy restroom in the Bordeaux Branch Library. RS 2024-827, Porterfield, Gad, Welsh accepts a grant from the USTA Southern Tennis Association Incorporated to the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation for hosting 3 tennis events for the community in July 2024. RS 2024-828, Porterfield, Gad, Welsh, Ewing, Sora accepts a child and adult care food program CACFP grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services to the Metropolitan Parks and Recreation Department to provide nutritious meals and snacks for children and adults attending after-school programs at 15 community centers. RS 2024-829, Porterfield, Gad, Amendment Number 1 to a sole source contract between Metropolitan Government and USE Direct Incorporated to amend Exhibit A pricing, among other things. RS 2024-830, Porterfield, Evans, Walsh, and Allen appropriates a total of $200,000 from the Office of Family Safety to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive a community partnership funds grant. RS 2024-832, Porterfield, Evans accepts a grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security to the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department for the provision of police traffic services highway safety projects. RS 2024-833, Porterfield, Evans approves Amendment 1 to a Hotspot Violent Crime Intervention Fund, VCIF Targeted Community Crime Reduction Project, TCCRP, grant from the Tennessee Office of Criminal Justice Programs to the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department to provide support to local law enforcement in developing and implementing evidence-based strategies to combat violent crime. RS 2024-834, Porterfield authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the property damage claim of Erie Insurance as subrogate of Catherine Greek against the Metropolitan Government in the amount of $16,171, with said amounts to be paid out of the Self-Insured Liability Fund. RS 2024-835, Druffel Porterfield Parker supports the beautification of a retaining wall located at 264 Old Hickory Boulevard and approving an application for a license agreement between NDOT and the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT. RS 2024-836, Parker approves Amendment 1 to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, and NDOT for the Charlotte Avenue, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Transit Headways and Congestion Management Project. RS 2024-837, Greg Porterfield Gamble Parker approves the Fourth Amendment to an intergovernmental agreement between the State and Tennessee Department of Transportation and NDOT for the acceptance of work in connection with the construction of a sidewalk on Lebanon Pike from McGavitt Pike to Old Lebanon Pike. RS 2024-838, Porterfield Parker Wilson Soror approves a Reconnecting Communities Pilot, RCP, discretionary grant application from the U.S. Department of Transportation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through NDOT to improve accessibility, connectivity, and community involvement to ensure that the Nolensville Pike Corridor becomes safer, more efficient, and inclusive transportation hub for all. RS 2024-845, Porterfield authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the claims of Infinium Builders and Jackson Builders against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in a total amount of $36,472.51 to be paid out of the NDOT Sidewalk Fund. RS 2024-846, Porterfield Parker Welsh Allen Ewing accepts a grant from the State of Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewage Services Waste Division to develop a series of multilingual recycling education resources. Bills on second reading. BL 2024-585, Coupon Porterfield Gamble approves the sale of approximately 0.04 acres of remnant property located west of 1st Avenue North, east of 2nd Avenue North, and north of Van Buren Street. Is there anything else that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none. Seeing none, can I get a motion? Is there a second? It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Consent agenda passes 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The first item that is not on consent is RS 2024-811, Porterfield Welsh and Sorora accepts a grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metro Department of Finance to provide for reimbursement of COVID-related eligible expenses pursuant to Presidential Disaster Declaration number FEMA-4514-DR-Tennessee. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wondered if this included the Meharry site for COVID testing as well.
That is an excellent question. Thank you for asking that, and I will turn it over to the administration table.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I don't know that it's specifically in this contract, but all of our testing sites, all of those expenses have been submitted to FEMA for reimbursement, and that has not been an expense that has been questioned. So our testing sites have all been reimbursable.
Okay, thank you. They took good care of me and stuck things up my nose many times, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. And do you mind introducing yourself for the viewing audience?
Yes, Mary Jo Wiggins, Finance.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wiggins. Councilmember Allen, did you have any other questions?
That was my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next item is RS 2024-812. Porterfield West Shore accepts a grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metro Department of Finance to provide public assistance pursuant to Presidential Disaster Declaration FEMA-4476-DR-10 for costs occurred for severe storms, tornadoes, straight line winds, and flooding on March 3rd, 2020. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just was wondering, 4 years later now, what costs are still out there?
Administration, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mary Jo Wiggins, Finance. This is really one of the tail end of the projects. There's lots of things that TEMA and FEMA request sometimes from an audit perspective before they approve it. The last thing that will come through for the tornado. So this is everything except for our management costs. So we'll see one more contract amendment to this, and then that will be the end of that event.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wiggins. Do we have any additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2024-816. Porterfield, Gamble, Allen, and Soror approves Amendment 1 to a Historic Preservation Fund underrepresented community grant from the U.S. Department of the Interior National Park Service to the Metropolitan Nashville Historical Commission to develop a county-wide historic context for Nashville and Davidson County's 20th century African-American district. Can I get a motion? Move. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. I wanted to have someone from Parks come and just tell us a little bit about what this is, please. And if you could please introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kevin Roten, Metro Parks. Madam Chair, that is not our bill. We are the last bill on the calendar on second reading.
My apologies. This is with the Historical Commission. My apologies.
That's
Do we
okay.
have
Thank
someone
you.
from the Historical Commission here? We don't have anyone from the Historical Commission? Okay. I'm going to turn it over to administration, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office. So this is an amendment to a grant. However, the main project is documenting several mid-20th century African-American suburban historic districts through historical research and survey. It will also result in at least one new nomination to the National Register of Historic Places.
Thank you so very much. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2024-818. Porterfield, Gamble, Welsh, and Allen approves amendments to 6 grant contracts for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2022-1857 between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and certain nonprofit organizations. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? We do have an amendment. Could someone move the amendment? It has been moved and properly seconded. Director Darby, can you speak to the amendment, please?
The amendment is essentially housekeeping. A few of the contracts that were filed they had the incorrect term in there, and that has been corrected, and the new contracts are part of the amendment.
Thank you, Director Darby. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? The amendment carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And now the resolution as amended. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we got a motion. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2024-822. Porterfield accepts the terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement for emergency and specialty vehicles and related equipment, supplies, and services for the Department of General Services. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if this includes garbage trucks.
That is an excellent question for someone who would like to address it. And who is that someone? Is General Services? Thank you. You're recognized.
Good afternoon. Stacy Wall with General Services. Could you please repeat your question?
Does this include garbage trucks?
Yes, specialty vehicles. It could. It's a possibility, but that's not usually what we use it for.
What would it take for it to include garbage trucks?
Just negotiation and getting contract information, specifications, stuff like
Gotcha.
that.
So if the waste department asks for it, it's got just as good a chance as a fire truck?
It does.
Okay.
We actually have other contracts for solid waste equipment, but we could use this
I see.
in
So-
an emergency situation.
Gotcha. So there are other contracts that would be spending money
Active
for garbage
contracts,
trucks?
correctly.
That works too. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Any additional questions? Seeing none, motion carried. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item not on consent is RS 2024-831. Porterfield Evans Soror accepts a DNA capacity enhancement for backlog reduction CEBR program grant from the U.S. Department of Justice to the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department to outsource sexual assault kits to private vendors for forensic case sample analysis to reduce the backlog associated with DNA analysis. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when we opened the new lab, I think it's at the South Hermitage Precinct, and we were all excited because that was going to speed up our backlog. And I just wonder if somebody can address if we're using that new lab and how we still have a backlog.
Yes, if you could please introduce yourself, kind sir.
Hello, my name is Chris Gilder. I am Deputy Chief of the Metro Police Department. Yes, that facility is being used, and it is actually housed in the Madison Precinct. And what that allowed us to do was to conduct our own testing in-house instead of having to rely on the TBI, which had accumulated a pretty significant backlog because they have 3 labs across the entire state, and they test for pretty much everybody else in the entire state. So this is the acceptance for the grant we applied for, I think it was back in April. But it's one of 2 federal grants that are available to help reduce backlogs. The reason that we found ourselves with a little bit of backlog with our DNA testing is because we had a vacancy in the position. You have to have I think it's called a DNA technical leader in place who oversees the entire program, ensures it meets the required certifications. And that position was vacant for a little while, and we had trouble getting it filled. We are now fully staffed. And so we're getting the rest of those folks certified, and we anticipate that we will be able to reduce this backlog. But this allows us to outsource those kits to agency or to a company that meets the same certification standards that we have to meet. And so they just can conduct them faster.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen, did you have any additional questions?
So this is a one-time thing, and then we'll be caught up.
That's the plan.
Great.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think my only question is, are there any, when we think about making sure that we're able to prosecute these crimes if we identify a possible perpetrator, are there any evidentiary issues using a third party as opposed to doing it in-house where we have some control over the people who would testify?
Thank you for that question. Deputy Chief Gilder, you're recognized.
No, there is not. We follow a chain of custody protocols, and this isn't new. These DNA grants have been around for several years. They're actually offered to a lot of agencies all around the country. So we're not the only people that utilize this and utilize the process. But with chain of custody, we've not had any issues with utilizing these in prosecutions.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item not on consent is RS 2024-847, Porterville, Parker, Welsh, and Allen approves the application for a recycling rebate grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metropolitan Water Services Department to purchase curbside recycling carts and implement a pilot program using AI technology to identify contamination. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Can we hear a little bit about how this program is going to work, specifically how the AI technology is going to be used?
Jen Harmon, Waste Services. Yes, so the AI technology is used using a camera on-site, inside the truck where material is dumped into the truck so that it can identify materials that are, for example, plastic bags or bagged material that should not be in recycling. And then that allows us to say, okay, this is a resident that may have put something in their recycling cart that should not be there. It geotags that location and then allows us to then send out information and educational materials to that resident so that they can learn more about what they should and should not put in their recycling cart.
Thank you. How is it tied back to the resident that had it in their cart?
So they use geotagging. So it'll basically use GPS locate where it is when they picks up the cart. So that will be associated with the address as the truck approaches that address and puts that cart into the truck.
Okay, thank you. I have some more, but I'll hold off.
Yeah.
Council Member Evan Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I was not trying to interrupt your questions, but on the geotagging, I guess, I know on streets it's pretty easy. It's in front of the house. It's not in front of the house. On alleys, a lot of times, like, all the carts just kind of end up together. And so I guess my question is, like, where are we doing this and how are we sort of handling that situation?
Thank you. You're recognized.
So this will be on just our automated side loaders. So alleys use a different type of truck. So we are piloting. This is just a 3-truck pilot for 1 year to better understand some of those questions and really dig into that and how we can appropriately address residents. We certainly wouldn't want to send out material to a resident and tell them they're doing something wrong if they weren't. So the pilot will help us better understand how this technology works. Those automated side loaders don't necessarily go down those alley streets. But ultimately, once that information is captured, it's going to come back to staff before any kind of communication goes out to the resident. So we'll be able to evaluate some of those variables before we send that education out.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. If there is an instance in which a resident has, there's some contaminated materials in someone's can, do those materials like contaminate the entirety of what's in the truck?
That's a great question. No, it does not necessarily contaminate the entire truck. So all of the material that we collect goes to our contractor who processes all that material. So for example, a bag of recyclables, while when you bag something, we can't separate that material out for it to go to market. So that material will be pulled out in that sorting process. So it's not necessarily going to impact all of the other materials. I will say food and liquid can sometimes impact a few other materials in the truck, but ultimately it's still getting sorted and still getting sent off to market.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I had a few questions. What are have you located the 3 communities where this will be piloted?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Do we know how those communities will be selected?
We have not made those determinations yet, but would be happy to share more about that and come to a consensus of where that makes the most sense.
Okay, thank you. And then is there anything about the AI technology that's being used that does anything with facial recognition or tracking individuals?
No, so the camera itself it doesn't face out of the truck, it faces inside the truck. So you're not going to see any individuals, only the material that's coming into the truck. Additionally, the technology will blur out any kind of personal information. Like, for example, if there were letters or some kind of junk mail that was in there, that's not something that will get seen through the technology.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any additional questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is our BL 2024-584, Porterfield, Hancock, Welsh, Allen, and others establishes a program for the purpose of providing assistance to low-income elderly residents of the Metropolitan government for fiscal year 2025. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? Is there a second? Anybody want to second it? Thank you. I appreciate that. It has been moved and properly seconded. Next time I'm gonna let it die, y'all. No, this one's important. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone that could speak to us about the program really quickly? We just want to make sure that residents know about it. This is agenda item 34, BL 2024-584, the assistance to low-income elderly residents. And Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry about that. This is an annual authorization for tax assistance to low-income elderly residents authorized under state law with a minimum making less than a certain amount gives them a break on property taxes, and it's operated through Trustee Gilmore's office. The deadline for applying, I believe, is in April.
Thank you so very much. And I believe we, state law changed last year, so the amount that's authorized went up, and the Metro Council voted last year for a higher amount so that more people could qualify. Is that correct?
That's right. Representative Love carried legislation, and council followed.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The last item that we have on the agenda is BL 2024-586. Vote Porterfield, Welsh, Allen, and Gadd approves an agreement between the Department of Parks and Recreation and the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Tennessee Historic Preservation Society, Vanderbilt University, and Middle Tennessee State University regarding the descendant-led excavation of Fort Negley Park. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It has been moved and properly seconded, and now I would love to give y'all the opportunity to just explain this a little bit, please. If you could introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Hester. I'm the Assistant Director at the Metro Nashville Parks Department. This is basically a grant from the National Endowment of Humanities to the Fort Negley Descendants Project. The Fort Negley Descendants Project is a joint effort between MTSU and Vanderbilt University to study the history of, to uncover, research, learn more about, and preserve the history of the descendants of the contrabands that were brought to Fort Negley to build that fort. So the money comes from the National Endowment of Humanities. Because of that, there's a Federal 106 review that happens, and that's why this agreement has to take place. What the agreement does is basically outline the standards, the Secretary of Interior standards that will have to be used for the archaeology, and basically everything that happens with the collection of it, the saving of it, and what's going to happen with it, and also the reporting of the findings are all outlined in the agreement.
Thank you so very much. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Meeting adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.